Welcome to another episode of the Baschamania podcast. Today we're taking a little break from all the recent wrestling action to talk with a client of mine, Hollywood's Kevin Sorbo. Kevin's an actor you've just had to see somewhere. From incredible success in the 90s with Hercules to recent success with faith-based, family-centered movies like Let There Be Light, God's Not Dead, Soul Surfer, even sitcoms like 2.5 Men and According to Jim. I could go on, but I'm not going to waste your valuable time with that. The point is, Kevin is a great actor. He's been all over the place. And he's also got an interesting story because unlike most in Hollywood, he's both Christian and conservative. Definitely my kind of guy. Let's bring Kevin in, but before we do, let's roll the intro.
It's Baschamania! Let me tell you something, brother. He gave us everything he had in him tonight. What you gonna do when Baschamania runs wild? Oh, it's gonna be a good one. And business just picked up here on the podcast. Oh, yeah.
How you doing, Kevin?
You know, I'm doing okay. It's a busy time, a lot of stuff going on, and I'm traveling a lot and sporting a lot of stress at the same time.
It's funny. I was thinking earlier today, my allergies were killing me, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to talk to Kevin, but I'm dreading the talking, that, and I'm thinking, I'm like, how does you're an actor? Your livelihood is based on how you look and how you feel and how you perform. And I'm thinking, like, how does he do it? And then I'm like, wait a minute. Forget, like, allergies or a cold. Like, didn't you have a stroke when you were filming Hercules?
I did. I had an aneurysm up here in the left subclavicle that I didn't know about. I was having pain there, the numb, and what ended up being that aneurysm, what we found out a little too late, unfortunately, had been sending clots down for months during the season 5 on Hercules. It wasn't last season. We shot 7 seasons. But they were cold and numb. I couldn't figure what was going on, but ultimately it was because this aneurysm was spitting out blood clots every once in a while and suffocating the blood with those fingers. My doctor found a bump there. He didn't know what it was yet. We were going to do a little test on it to find out. But the chiropractor cracked my neck this way. He's never cracked my neck before in my life, by the way. So it was weird that he cracked it, and I heard a voice say, "Don't let him crack your neck twice."
Wow.
And I didn't listen to it because the guy's never cracked my neck. But that quick snap with the aneurysm so close to the brain flushed up 3 clots into my brain. I suffered 3 strokes. So I still have a 10% loss of vision in both eyes in the upper right quadrant. And then 2 of the strokes went into my balance. So it took me about 4 months to learn how to stand up and walk again. And when I went back to Hercules for season 6, I went from a 12 to 14-hour day down to 1-hour day over the next few months and slowly built up over time to try to get back into the groove of things.
And I mean, that's obviously the extreme of things. But like, what do you do on a normal day-to-day when you wake up and you have killer allergies, but you got to be on set? Like, I imagine you can't just call in. Like, what do you do?
You just go to set and you try your best to talk in a lower, deeper voice and not sound like you're all, easily.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Give you a lot of credit. So going back in the life of Sorbo, tell me, how did you get started and what made you want to act?
I was 11 years old and I went to see a play at the Guthrie Theater. I grew up in a little town outside of Minneapolis, and the Guthrie Theater, very famous theater. A lot of people from New York come out and perform from Broadway out there. It's actually they brought a lot of very big productions out that way before it went to New York, and one of those would have been The Lion King. So Lion King was rehearsed and practiced there for like 3 months to live audiences before bringing it to New York. Now it's been on Broadway for 20 plus years.
Right.
And the play I saw was Merchant of Venice. It was Shakespeare. I didn't know what the heck they were saying. I was 11 years old. I probably still wouldn't know what they're saying, but as an 11-year-old kid, you're like going, but I was mesmerized by it all. And so I told my mom on the way home, I said, I think I want to be an actor. And she said, "That's nice, dear." Well, I kind of kept it quiet because I was a jock, and I was a jock all through junior high and high school. And we sort of made fun of the kids in the drama class. Oh, what a bunch of wussies, And the reality is I wanted to be in there with that class. When I got to college and I got more serious about it, I had a double major, marketing, advertising, but I took a minor in drama and got far more involved in it. And then obviously after that, I just really just went after it full tilt.
That's interesting. So before that, you obviously, I mean, you're before that, you're 9, you're 10. You don't really know what you want to do. You see a play, and then from there, it was just nonstop. You just did everything you could to pursue that.
Well, there were a lot of sidetracks in there because right after college, I went down to Dallas, Texas, and I joined a theater group down there. I went to Dallas because I had 2 very good buddies from my high school football days. They were playing football down at SMU. And Dallas was a really blooming market at the time for small theater, but also for the commercial world. And I already done a lot of commercials through my college years. Minneapolis, people don't realize Minneapolis is home to national headquarters, Best Buy, Target, Dairy Queen, A&W, Pillsbury. My gosh, so many, 3M. I mean, there's so many different things there. And I did a lot of Target commercials. So, I mean, that's how I got that all-important SAG card, And where is that? I'll have to pull it out, that all-important SAG card. Where's my all-important SAG card? I better have it here somewhere, otherwise it's bad. But I'll find it eventually. But anyway, I dated a girl down there. There it is. Screen Actors Guild, very important card to have.
That's a necessity. Expires soon. I hope you're renewing that. Expires in like 2 months.
Yeah. Oh no, I just got the new one, so
perfect.
Chuck that away. So I started dating a girl that was a big international model at the time, and she said, "Hey, come to Europe with me for 3 months. Just come spend the summer." And I thought, I'm 23, 24 years old, and I was like, yeah,
right.
Why not go to Europe for a little while before I moved to LA? So I moved to Milan, Italy. 3 months turned into 3.5 years.
Wow.
So it was quite a sidetrack to my life. It was interesting. I did more, because I was a bigger guy, I was big. All these model types were 5'10", 5'11". Here I'm 6'3", 220, 225, But I got involved. I got all the athletic commercials, all that stuff like that. I became very good friends with Johnny Versace. May he rest in peace. We became very good friends, and he put me in all his runway shows, which means like acting, because I'm with these 6'1" women, and and I get to be on stage walking with them in front of Madonna and Richard Gere and Pavarotti and Sophia Loren and all this. It was pretty cool. I did a lot of commercial work. The Germans loved me. I spent about 1.5 years in Munich. That was a good money market for me. And I lived in Milan 8 months, Munich 1.5 years, Paris 6 months, lived about 3 months in Zurich, 3 months in London. So all total, it was 3.5 years I was over there. And then I said, I'm done. I got to get out of here. I reached the point. I did start my own basketball league in Germany and my own theatrical company where we did little plays and stuff in Munich. And just keep my hand in that.
Yeah.
But now I'm going on 27 years of age. I was like, I got to get there. And then I just took off big time. In terms of commercial work and guest starring and stuff like that, I mean, Hercules hit, 5 years later, but still it was like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. And I took some really good classes from really 3 different teachers. I spent like 1.5 years to 2 years with each one. And it was a great experience. It really was. And then Hercules just took off, obviously. 5 2-hour movies turned into 7 years and the most watched show in the world, 176 countries. And that turned into 5 years on Andromeda. And since then, it's been over 60 movies. I mean, knock on wood, it's like.
And I've seen like it. It's funny. So going back real quick, did you know what kind of actor you wanted to be? Like what you wanted to do? Did you want to do movies? Did you want to do, like, I've seen you in everything. I've seen you on According to Jim and 2.5 Men. And then I've seen you on, Soul Surfer, God's Not Dead, Let There Be Light. Like such a variety. Obviously Hercules. Did you want to do one thing or another? Or was it, let's just see where it goes and I'll run with that?
Yeah, it's pretty much what it was. I mean, I think if you go out to LA or New York or wherever you go to pursue an acting career, you go out there with the mind, I'm going to be incredibly famous and all that. I think that's the wrong mentality. I think you want to do it because you love the craft. I love it. I love the acting part of it. Did I want a TV series or movie career? Sure I did. But, I think I was smart about it. A buddy of mine, before I left Minneapolis, I've known him forever. He said, remember, it's called show business, not show. It is a business. So I figured my double major, marketing and advertising, I'm marketing and advertising myself. I am my own product.
Right.
That's what you are as an actor. And it can be tough because people are turning you down all the time. The business is all about rejection. And for the most part, you get rejected a lot. So I took offense to that, and I didn't let that discourage me. I used to caddy at this private country club when I was back in high school and college, and every one of these guys, it was a very expensive club. Everyone's guys were very wealthy, successful guys, and whether they're 28 or 78, I said, how did you get to where you are? And they all said the same thing. They said, you know what, Kevin, I failed, and I failed, and I failed, and I failed, but I didn't let it slow me down. And I thought that is the best advice you could have. Most people, fear is the only thing to fear itself, right? But a lot of people fear failure too. So they would rather just stay where they are and not improve themselves or go through the rejection and go through the pain and the angst of having people say, no, I don't like you. But you want to get better in your life, you want to improve your life, well, you have to put up with that. And you have to use that as a way to strengthen yourself instead of weaken yourself. And I use it as a way to say, okay, you're wrong. You just cast the wrong person.
Right.
So I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing until, I did believe. I believed at 11 years old I was going to make it. Somehow, somewhere, I was going to have a successful career in acting. And so that was embedded in me in an early time.
So when you say that you love the show business aspect of it, or you love refining your craft, what makes a more fun project? And are there some that have stuck out? Like, this was one of the best projects I've done, not from a money or a fame standpoint, but the ones you had the most fun with? Are they stuff that you're doing? Maybe now you're doing stuff that's more, you're directing stuff like Let There Be Light and Bernie the Dolphin. You're doing things that you can kind of, I don't know if you're directing them, but more of your say. Are you having more fun doing that? Or is there stuff you've been doing before that was more fun because you got to maybe do something new or different, or who you were working with?
Well, I loved Hercules. And without the success of Hercules, I wouldn't have gotten Andromeda or anything that followed, So Hercules was a godsend to me. Initially, it was just going to be 5 2-hour movies, but I loved the movies. But I knew by the third movie, I said, there's no way they're not going to make this a new TV series. There's nothing like it on TV. I mean, now everything's right. Every movie and everything's about action and stuff like that. But back in 1993, when we started filming, there was nothing like Hercules on TV. And so by 1995, and sure, I mean, by the middle of the third movie, Universal Studios called and said, you're staying down there. We're going to make this a series. We love what we're seeing. And this is before they even put the first movie on the air, because it was supposed to be just 2-hour movies for TV. And by our third season, when we spun off a female version of Hercules called Xena, there were a bunch of other people copying that same year. There was Sheena came out. There was Tarzan, Conan, Sinbad, Robin Hood. So that's what Hollywood does. If they see something successful, they jump on that bandwagon right away. That's why you see a lot of similar movies that seem to come out.
So those were all just spin-offs because of the success of Hercules?
I wasn't a spin-off. Oh, certainly they were. Those shows, the other studios saw the success of Hercules, and they said, "That's okay. We got Conan, you got Robin Hood, right? Okay, we can do Sinbad." Of course that happened. Those wouldn't have happened without the success of Hercules. So all those studios, they owe me 10%, but they're not going to pay me. They're not going to. But if it wasn't for that, and I love being on the set. I added a lot of my own humor to the show, because I remember telling Sam Raimi, our executive producer, I said, Sam, we've got to go back. We've got to make sure that we do this in the quirkiness and the humor that you had in Evil Dead with Bruce Campbell. I said, if we do this as a serious show, people are going to laugh at us. We want people to laugh with us. And he knew that. Right. So, I mean, it was fun. So many laughs on that set all the time. That's what made it such a great thing to be part of. And, and Andromeda the same way. I mean, I was a huge Star Trek fan. When I got a call from Majel Roddenberry to do Andromeda, I jumped on the bandwagon right away to be the first captain after Captain Kirk. Are you kidding me? This is an honor. And after that, I've done a bunch of movies. And yeah, there's probably a dozen I wish I didn't do. But, you don't go into it thinking this is going to end up being a stupid or bad movie. You don't go into it thinking that. I look at the part and I go, yeah, I like this part. I think we can do something with it. But I like to mix it up. I mean, I played everything from a serial killer to a pastor. So I've done quite a few different things.
And I want to say I heard that from Mark Wahlberg a couple of years ago. He said, I don't know what the context was that I heard it, but he was telling somebody like, you don't know what's going to pop and what's going to not. He's like, do you think that me talking to a teddy bear in a green screen for the movie would turn into a huge hit? Like you don't see these things. So once you build these relationships with the guy you just mentioned, executive producing the show, do you find yourself working with those guys over and over? I see so many actors and actresses working together with each other. Do you find that?
I think that's very true. In this case, it wasn't, and that's disappointing to me. I mean, Sam Raimi is a very bright guy, very talented director. It's frustrating that I never get the chance to work with him outside. And in fact, his name was there only. There's stuff Steven Spielberg puts his name on that he has really nothing to do with. He likes it. But putting producer Steven Spielberg on there sells the movie even bigger.
Right.
They pay him millions of dollars to put his name on there. And he's not going to throw his name on there if something he doesn't like. But I'm saying he's not hands-on all the time and all those things. He'll look at the script and say, okay, show me the product when it's done. He might look at the movie and go, okay, I'm happy to be, to endorse your movie. So I never got to work with Sam. So Sam, you owe me a job, for crying out loud. You made a lot of money staying in L.A. while I busted my butt and got 3 strokes on your show down.
And that kind of leads me into my next thought, which is you're totally my kind of guy, Republican, Christian, but even being a small business guy, I see my share of snubs. That I know that I'm a perfect candidate for somebody's project, but they don't want someone who either said, yeah, I'm voting for Trump, or yeah, I believe this because the Bible believes this. Like, you're snubbed. Have you noticed that throughout your career?
Oh,
that
I'm totally blacklisted out of Hollywood right now. They call me for nothing.
How did that happen? Like, what was the progression? Were you growing up? Were you a Christian?
Yeah. I've always been a Christian. I've always been a conservative. The first time I could vote, I voted for Ronald Reagan. My parents are Minnesota liberal Democrats. I can't even say liberal. They're Democrats. They would be, my dad's passed away now, 7 years ago, but my mom, I think she's more middle line now. She's starting to get it more, But, if you look at Hubert Humphrey and Walter Mondale back in their day when they were supporting them, those guys' politics were more along the line of independents and even Republicans today. I mean, JFK would be a Republican today. And people go, no, he wouldn't be. I go, look at his 1960 inauguration speech and listen to what he's got to say, let alone his famous phrase that's on his gravestone saying, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. There's not a Democrat that says that today. Every one of these guys running against Trump right now are saying, we'll give you free stuff.
Right.
How can people possibly be that ignorant to think that everything's free? Somebody pays for it. I mean, Maggie Thatcher comes from a socialist country, a prime minister, but she understood capitalism and understood that you needed to have individuals be running the country, not big government. And she said herself, the problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money. And that's true. So It's weird what's going on right now in the country. And I blame most of the media out there. They brainwash so many people. And we live in a country now that no matter what you say, people get angry. I can post on Twitter, really beautiful today, sunny, beautiful, and people say, I hope you die. I mean, there's so many angry people out there that I'm going to play shrink here that I think hate their lives. They hate their jobs if they have one.
Yep.
They hate their relationships if they have one. I mean, they're just, and they think their anger and 3 a.m. screaming out at people that they disagree with, that they don't even know who they are. Is going to make their lives better. And really, it just sinks them into a deeper, darker hole of hatred and anger. And it's really too bad.
Yeah, and so I'm assuming, like I said, even as a small business owner, I've seen it. I see the snubs, and I don't care. I have my niche business, and I'm blessed, and I'm happy with it. What did you notice it happened slowly through your career, or was there a time when all of a sudden it's like, okay, Kevin's done. Yeah, I think it happened pretty quick. I mean, I'm the one who sort of came out of the conservative closet as well. And, I said a few things, and all I do is I post the truth. I go, okay, here's a fact. Boom, it's the truth. 2 + 2 = 4. And people will go, no, it doesn't. And then they attack me. And, to go back to Hollywood, Hollywood owes me nothing. I worked my butt off. I did a wonderful series with Andromeda and Hercules. I did get some other movies with them, but around 2011 and 12, I definitely noticed a sharp just disappearance. Yeah.
And I wasn't getting called in to read for anything new anymore. And it's starting to change a little bit right now. In fact, I've got 3 movies that I got to put myself on tape for after this today. That out of Georgia, that they're I think one's a TV series, the other 2 movies, and you're going, okay, one's with Melissa McCarthy, so it'd be cool, So I'll put myself on tape, but it's the thing that frustrates me is the hypocrisy of it all. People scream for tolerance, and it's like they're the most tolerant. And I find that even with Christians, I think that's why it turns off a lot of agnostics and atheists, that they seem to be the least forgiving, and we're supposed to be the most forgiving.
Right.
It's like, check out the log in your own eye, brother. So it's like,
right.
It's weird that I've had people tell me, even in my movies, that I hate calling them faith-based. I'd like to call them family movie, because every movie is a faith-based movie. If you think about it, if you're an atheist, that's a pretty strong faith and believe in absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
A lot of faith. A lot of Christians don't have much faith. And I look at this and go, okay, I do these movies, and I get people emailing me going, yeah, I wasn't Christian enough. Or, oh, you know what, that was way too Christian. You're like going, oh my God. And these are people coming from that say they're Christians. So you're going, okay, so, but wasn't it at least still a good movie that showed redemption and love and hope and faith, and had something, a good quality about it that your 9 and 7 and 6, 5-year-old kids can watch? But it's like, we live in this, everybody's looking to be offended or criticize everything. It's out of control.
Do you think now, like I've noticed now that I've had my digital agency 12 years, and I notice now, as it's funny, it's coincided with society. I see society going down like this, and I see that I have a bit more of a stable rock from a company standpoint, and I'm a bit more bold. I think I have the right more now than I had before. I'm not as worried about losing business, but I also see like culture's just lost. Like people everywhere are just lost, and I don't want to say I feel more of a responsibility, but it's so much easier to put yourself out there because so many people are saying things that are. I just saw somebody this morning that went absolutely nuts on an article that somebody put out that said Trump's new policy is children born to military members overseas, they're not American citizens. They went nuts. Then somebody commented right away and said, honey, did you read the article? The article says if they're not a U.S. citizen, then their child is not a U.S. citizen. It's a completely misleading,
Yeah.
So it's so much easier. Have you noticed in your career that you've seen, like, I don't know, the world needs more good people, and it's more important now than maybe in the past, or maybe you wanted to roll more and you were, I don't want to say silenced, but, you focus maybe more on the job than what you wanted to say?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm trying to post more and more things that are just more family neutral. It's like, I hate doing that. I hate having to pull back and say, okay, I'm not going to post this fact, this truth. Well, why don't I post stuff that I hope this brings a smile to your face, no matter where you are in the thought process. And, I hope you find this interesting and fun. And to me, I get why some people just say, I'm done with social media.
Yeah. People
that control their lives, and they just, you see people just on the phones all the time. You go through airports, everybody's on it. I had to go, I told you, to a meeting. I was in the parking lot, and there's this guy walking right down the middle. I couldn't get around him. He's perfectly in the middle with the cars parked, and he's on his phone, and I said, you can't hear the car that's 3 feet behind you. Literally, he walked for at least 30 yards that way before he finally turned, and gets out of the way. You see people just walking the streets. They're not looking at the crosswalk. I mean, it's amazing how this is supposed to be something that brings the world together more, but it's made us more isolated.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, because a lot of the people that I talk to, especially, let's say, younger athletes, they need to use social media because from a brand standpoint, if you're an athlete, you're not getting many brand deals unless you have a social presence, and you can bring instant revenue and engagement.
That runs for Hollywood, too. And unfortunately, because, as much anger is towards me because I'm conservative and a Christian, we can get into the Christian part. What do people care, I mean,
right.
If you're Muslim, I don't care.
Right.
It's just weird. But you look at somebody like Dwayne Johnson, he makes millions extra because of his social media. I think he reaches 18, 20 million people or something.
So I think it's even more. I think it's like 100 million or something now.
That's the case, and they may pay him 20 million to do a movie. They probably pay him another 20 million to promote the movie, because he gets on there and boom, hey guys, Dwayne, check out my latest movie, and he's got 20 to 100 million people there that are fans. They're going to go just because he posted it. He posts stuff when he's on the set. I mean, he's been brilliant with this, and he's making millions more just because this came out too late. I wish this came out during the Hercules years. When I came out, it was 1993 to 2000. It was the birth and the really rapid growth. But back then it was You've Got Mail, and that was really about it. There was no Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. None of that stuff existed. So you couldn't. I would have loved to have that, because I heard Miley Cyrus off for TV, that series she was doing on Disney, was making like $2 million a month on a newsletter she put out. People pay $1.99 to have her. Hey, she did like a newsletter. They went on the internet, and people just read the newsletter, and she made an extra $2 million a month off that. Insane. But God bless it. God bless the capitalist American system that so many people seem to want to hate and get rid of, yet they're still doing it. It's like,
that's why it's so interesting to see, like, so many people. A good friend of mine is a head coach, and he refuses to go on social media because he's conservative, he's Christian. He knows that no matter what he says, it's going to be spun in a different direction. So he just puts his head down, and we always go back and forth. I'm like, listen, I get it, but from a brand standpoint, as we're working on your website or doing this and that, like, you want brand deals. Nowadays, it's like it's a prerequisite. It's like, especially as you're talking certain different sectors too. And now it is it's balancing, like, how much do you just put on a facade to go use social media for your professional development versus how much do you stay off and balance it, which it sounds like what you're doing, which is, I'm going to use it. I'm going to try to post more family-based content that just puts a smile on someone's face, and maybe more people want to see that. And now it's like,
well, you hope so. You're still going to get, I hate family.
Oh, of course.
I hate this. It's what are you going to do? Look, I've got a website through you, and I wish I used it more. Part of it is I'm too stupid to know how to use it properly. And the other part, I just get lazy about it. And I know, but I feel like somehow I sort of missed the boat that my TV shows are done, but I know I have an audience out there that likes family movies, because I get stopped all the time through airports saying, hey, it used to be Hercules and Andromeda. 80% of the time now it's, hey, please make more movies like Let There Be Light, Soul Surfer, God's Not Dead. Please make more movies like that.
Yeah.
So, we should talk about that later, you and I.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll tap into that to make sure people follow, because the reality is, excuse me 1 second, but I'm running over something I shouldn't run over. The reality is, I did sort of miss the boat with the Hercules Andromeda thing, even though the both are still running in 60 countries around the world, and it's still out there. But I need to find a way to get people to give a strong word of mouth on our movies, because I do these $3 million movies. With $3 million, that's maybe catering on the next Avengers movie or Pirates of the Caribbean. They shoot $250, $300 million movies. They'll throw another $100 million plus in promoting it. So you see it on every commercial for every football game, basketball game. It's in the trailer in every movie. We don't have that luxury in a small budget movie like ours. Even though they look great and they got great stories, we just don't have, we don't have the universal $180 million budget just for the visual effects,
Right.
So I like to do movies, I call them actors movies, that are well written, have a good message, make you laugh, make you cry, make you think, and you can relate to the characters up there. Somebody like the characters up there. None of us can be Thor. None of us are Iron Man. That's a comic.
Right.
And I like those movies too. But you watch another 12 buildings go down in New York City. You're going, okay, 3 million people just died there, but we're not talking about that.
Right. It's always been hard for me to grasp that.
It's amazing. You walk out of there and go, wow, that was a good roller coaster ride. I want people to come on and go, that was a really good movie. That thing was really, that touched me in this way or that way. And that's kind of movies I want to do. But we need people to support those movies, or they die at the box office against the next Avengers movie. It's just the way it is.
And do you feel as I gotta like God doesn't need any of us, but the more we make ourselves available, the more He does want to use us. Do you feel like because you have made yourself available to say, let's do these, even if they're family-based movies, they have the Christian undertones that Hollywood so lacks. Do you find yourself with these newer opportunities or heading in a direction of more of that because maybe you have been faithful to not be quiet about your faith?
Well, it's interesting. I do a lot of charity golf events. I play with some very wealthy people that they're like-minded people. They end up finding out, wow, you're not one of those guys from Hollywood that hates everything.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I hate the Green Bay Packers, but I'm a Minnesota Viking guy. But anyway, it's still so hard to raise the money, which is weird to me because there's a lot of people that have very deep pockets out there and say want to support these movies. And yet they'll spend $10 million on supporting some presidential candidate that never gets elected. And you're going, but $10 million, I could have made 3 really good movies that would have reached millions of people around the world. But it's not so easy. The hardest thing is raising, like I said, raising that money to get these things done. And, I've been fortunate enough to have it happen. Doesn't happen as frequent as I wish I could do at least 2 movies a year that have the movies that I want to do, that I want to direct as well. Because I've been shooting 3 to 4 movies a year, but only one is really one of mine. The rest of it, they break. Coming up in October, it's a wonderful family movie. But the hardest thing is finding that money. The hardest thing is reaching out to people and say, hey, you say you want to change the world. Well, here's your chance to change the world. Let's change it, But it doesn't happen that easily.
What's their hesitation? Is there a general consensus on why?
No, but my last movie, Let There Be Light, that I directed, did very well in the theaters. Sean Hannity funded it. He called me up out of the blue and said, Sorbo, Hannity, I loved your God's Not Dead, Soul Surfer, What If? Do you have something like it? And I said, I do. We pitched and we wrote a check. And it did very well for not having a huge budget to promote it. And because of that, I got a call from Netflix. And they said, hey, we'd love to meet with you. And I said, great. So I went and met with the film and television department a number of times. Gave them some great scripts, gave them all this. They said, we want to get an inspirational division going because we know there's this kind of stuff. And not only Netflix, but all of Hollywood seems to ignore that. Look, I like a good action movie too, but it just seems like there's so much violence, there's so much anger, so much hate coming out of some of these movies. And television shows too. I mean, I think there's a new TV series coming out called Evil, So it's like, I said, look, I don't do touch by an angel stuff. I do punch by an angel stuff, okay? We'll make it pretty. We'll make it interesting. We'll make it, there won't be preaching going on. And that's what I know turns off a lot of people. So we'll see what happens. Netflix, we still have an open channel with them. We'll see what happens with them. I'm slowly wearing them down. But they're not saying no. They just haven't said yes yet. And I hope they do because, they got the power to do it. And as I told them, I said, look, you might have a different ideology, a different belief, a non-belief, whatever it may be, but still you are a business, right? Back to the show business thing. You can laugh all the way to the bank as 80 million households gobble up these products that have good messages in them for people.
And it's funny, too, because you would think that as a business, Netflix has a lot of Netflix demographic is not just atheist liberals and it's not just conservative Christians.
No.
Why would you not want to say here for the Christians who do want a ton of Christmas movies like the Hallmark Channel is capitalized on? Sure. Why would you not double down on that?
I don't know. There's everything's a head scratch for me right now. It's just so weird. And fake news is an appropriate term to put out there for a lot of these networks and cable news outlets because it's, the gloves are off and there's no hiding back to where people stand.
Sure.
When newscasters, we all knew Walter Cronkite was a full-on liberal,
right?
At the same time, he would still just deliver the news. And but it's a different world now, and people get very angry and very upset, and a lot of stuff is just made up, and it's more taken out of context. It's just totally made up. So
what are you working on now that's fun that you're looking forward to, you're excited about?
Well, I've got 4 movies done in the can, and I've got 3 documentaries that are almost done. And the most recent one that I'm pushing now is Miracle in East Texas. It's a wonderful movie. I shot it. I directed it. We shot up in Calgary in Canada. got a great cast with Lou Gossett Jr., John Ratzenberger, Tyler Mane. People know him from the WWF world, but he's also Sabretooth in all the X-Men movies. My wife, Sam Sorbo's in it. She did an amazing job in it. It's a true story about two con men played by myself and John Ratzenberger that would woo widows out of their money in 1930 Oklahoma, Texas. And they actually end up striking oil. It's the largest oil plant in the history of the world. This is inspired by a true story.
Wow.
And film festivals, all right. It was great to shoot in that time period because all the music is pre-1930 and 31. And the cars and everything we got, and the wardrobe design was awesome. We have been to 4 film festivals with it already. We've got 4 more lined up. It won Best Romantic Comedy in Houston. It won Best Family Film in Orlando. It won Best Narrative Feature Film in Anthem in Las Vegas. It just won Best Narrative Film in, which was that? The Best Narrative, no, that was in Anthem. It won Best Faith Film in Franklin.
This thing's racking up awards.
Here's what but what I love about it, they can't pigeonhole it.
Yeah.
It's not really a faith film. I mean, that fits more in a romantic comedy. There's a faith element. It's like Blindside. You knew it was a Christian family raising this African American kid who went on to become a Hall of Fame football player.
Right.
It's not in your face, and it's the best romantic comedy is what it fits in more than anything else, and it's wonderful, it's funny, and it's touching, and we're getting standing room only. When the next one we have in Louisville, we've got one in Scottsdale, Arizona, we got a big one in Toronto coming up, so it's hitting the film market, and the people are really enjoying it, but we're still trying to raise that P&A money. We're heavy in calls, we got some very interested parties, but no one's still pulled that trigger yet to get this thing into theaters, and that's what we got to do, because this could be a runaway hit for independent movie if we get it in the theaters.
We have to watch with my fiance. We're always looking for those good kind of Friday night movies. What better to watch on a Friday night? Well, that's awesome. Listen, I know you got a lot to do. You got to get yourself on tape for a few things here, so I'll let you go. Thanks for stopping by today.
My pleasure. If you can go to kevinsorbo.net and get a hold of me, there's all kinds of merchandise. My book, True Strength, is on there. You asked earlier, Strength, my journey to mirror and how nearly dying saved my life. I do a lot of speaking events on that. It's a book that's very inspirational. I didn't want to write it. My wife made me, but I'm glad I did it now because I've been on the road speaking. I do about a dozen speaking events a year now over the last 12 years because of it.
Yeah, I'll link that up too, so anybody who's listening can go right to his website, get that going, and then we'll chat soon.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Please be sure to follow Kevin and go support him in his endeavors. Watch his movies, interact with him online. Go give him a follow. And let me know what you thought about the non-wrestler route with this episode. I really appreciate all the feedback I get, and I want to continue to bring conversations that you guys want to hear. That's a wrap for today's show, though, so we'll catch you next time.
And the beat goes on.